What's up guys, and welcome to a new video. So today we're going to cover my take on the Landslide Lightning Storm Druid build that essentially uses Landslide along with Nature's Fury key passive to create tons of Lightning Storm procs all over the screen that in turn just melts through everything on the screen. I have killed Lilith Tormented bosses and tier 8 Infernal Hordes with this build, and it's an absolute breeze. I would like to give a shout out to Ace of Spades, a very good Druid content creator, as I believe he is the originator to this build. His channel will be linked in the description. In this guide, we will go in depth on everything from the skills used to the Paragon board. As always, timestamps will be down below, so feel free to jump ahead at any time. There will be a full Uber Lilith kill and the final wave of a tier 8 Infernal Horde, followed up by the tier 8 boss fight as well if you want to check that out. Anyways, let's get right into it. As for the skills used in the build, up top we have Storm Strike. Basically we're just going to use this if we need resource, but I don't ever have to use it. You shouldn't have any problems with resource. Right here we have Landslide, and we also have Lightning Storm. Now we're going to be casting Landslide, pretty frequently, like non-stop actually, and this is going to proc our Nature's Fury key passive, making it to where we'll be raining these lightning storms right here, and this will be our main damage dealer. Right here we have Bloodhowl, as you can see right there, shapeshift into a werewolf and howl furiously, healing you. Kills reduce the cooldown of it, but also gives us 15% attack speed, and then we want to shapeshift as often as possible because of a damage boost that we're going to get on our boots and also in the skill tree that we'll go over. Right here we have Cyclone Armor. This is going to give us non-physical damage reduction, pretty much like a barrier, and we cast this like non-stop because it's constantly resetting. And also it's going to have a chance to proc Earthen Bulwark because of our key passive as well. And then also we have Earthen Bulwark on our bar. This right here gives us a nice barrier and then makes us go unstoppable, so that's going to be our form of unstoppable. And then down here we have Petrify. This is going to be our ultimate skill, and basically Petrify is going to, as you see right there, against bosses, give us more critical strike damage, and then also against enemies more critical strike damage. We have several ways that the cooldown goes down pretty quickly with this, like hitting a boss at the bottom with Petrify reduces its cooldown by 10 seconds, and killing enemies reduces it, so this is going to be up pretty frequently. As for the spirit boons that I like to use in the build, up top right here we take wariness, 15% reduced damage from elites. Now if you feel like you're not very squishy, or you are okay with as far as taking damage goes, then you can use advantageous beast for more movement speed. Right here we go with the iron feather. We get 20% maximum life, and then over here we're going to get 30% to our critical strike damage, and it's a multiplier. Now if you don't need the survivability, you can get rid of this and add swooping attacks in for 15% more attack speed. Right here we're going to go with energize on lucky hit. Basically this is proccing all the time, and this is our main way of getting our spirit back. And then down here we're going to go with calm before the storm. Nature's magic skills have up to a 10% chance to reduce the cooldowns of your ultimate skill by 2 seconds, so it's helping to get that petrify back up pretty frequently. Now we'll go ahead and jump into the gear and aspects really quickly. You can slow this down or pause it if you want to check out my stats. I'll just scroll through it really quick. We are crit capped with this build overall, so definitely want to try to have maximum crit chance. Up top we're going to go ahead and use Vasili's Prayer. You can see right there, obviously this is great for the build: willpower, maximum life, defensive posture ranks, and then also your earth skills are now also werebear skills and fortify you for 3% of your maximum health. All of the bonuses that we get from werebear, damage wise and everything else, go to our earth skills, which essentially is going to go to all of our skills, so this is really important on the build. Right here we have Tyrael's Might. Now I would say to try to triple masterwork the damage reduction. Tyrael's Might, I like to run Tyrael's Might. Some people don't. Some people run the symbiotic aspect up on their chest up here with a regular chest, and then they'll be running Tybalt's Will right here for more damage. Personally, I like to not be so squishy, so I like to go with the Tyrael's Might up here. Try to triple masterwork the damage reduction if possible. Right here we have the Unsung Aesthetic Wraps. These are going to be adding a nice amount of damage to the build. You can see right there, gives us base crit chance, damage to distance, which we want. You'll see in the Paragon board will give us multiplier. Both the Lightning Storm I have right there, and that's not even greater affix. If you can, try to get the greater affix on that. Now just know a lot of people are running this build, so in the market items for this build can be really expensive. I have 4 ranks to Defiance right there, and then also you see Lightning Storm gains an additional strike each time it grows, and Lightning Storm critical strikes cause lightning to strike twice, which is nice. And on top of that, they're dealing 39% up to 40% multiplicative increased damage, so these are actually huge for the build. Now I have another pair, and it does have the greater affix on the Lightning Storm, but I would say it is more important to get that bottom number down there where my 39% is. I'd try to get that as close to 40 as possible. that's even more like important than your lightning storm. Obviously get like the maximum lightning storm ranks if you can, greater affix, but make sure you have a good roll on that number down below. You want to be as close to 40% as possible to be doing maximum damage with that. Right here into the pants, willpower, life. Now I have life per second right there. You can go with dodge chance right there if you wanted to. You know, it's up to you. For the tempering, I also have maximum life and then lucky hit up to a 28.1% chance to immobilize. We want to definitely try to be immobilizing and crowd controlling enemies with this build. For the aspect right there, we got the symbiotic aspect. Now, like we talked about, you can put the symbiotic up here, go with a regular chest if you wanted to, and throw the Tabalts down here. You know, the Tabalts will give you, you know, resource stats, life, damage reduction while unstoppable, and then a 20% multiplier to your damage. And as well, you know, as you read right there, when you become unstoppable, you gain 50 of your primary resource. Now, we don't have resource issues with this build as it currently stands, so we don't really care about that. The multiplier obviously would be nice, but, you know, I feel this build does plenty of damage as it is, so we don't really need that. So when it comes to these, I choose not to have these down here and go with the Tyrael's Might, but it's all up to you. You could throw those in and then throw the symbiotic up on your chest if you wanted to. Now into the boots, we want to go with the Wild Heart Hunger. You can see right there, these are just great for the build. Movement speed, shape-shifting attack speed, which is really important. Try to, you know, masterwork that up. Cold resistance, heightened senses ranks. And then down here you see when you shapeshift into werewolf or werebear, gain Wild Heart for 5 seconds. Wild Heart grants up to 3% multiplicative stacking damage for every 2 seconds. So, and that can go up to the 56%, or, you know, in total to 60 if you had a better roll. So this is why we want to keep switching, you know, out of form and just back and forth to get the maximum stacks up on this and keep it up. For the weapon down here, go with the dagger, willpower, maximum life. Right down below that, you can get, you know, critical strike damage if you wanted to, but I do like the defensive route on this build. And, you know, having the life on hit right there almost feels like life leech. I mean, it doesn't seem like much, but you got stuff going off all over the screen, and that's just constantly boosting your life up quickly. So I chose to go with the life on hit right here. For the temper, you want to go with damage to crowd control enemies. We want to get a certain amount of that as well to get a nice multiplier in the Paragon board, which we will go over. And then for the temper down below, chance for landslide projectiles to cast twice. We're going to get that both over here and over here on the totem. And then for the aspect right here, we're going to go with the retaliation aspect. Your core skills deal up to 40% multiplicative increased damage based on your amount of fortify. And with this build, we're just, you know, maxed out on fortify pretty much at all times. Over into the amulet right here, your most important thing you want to get is ranks to the envenom. That's going to be our biggest, you know, damage that we can get from the skill tree. There is other stuff that you can get ranks to, you know, on top of that, like in place of the attack speed or the damage. This is just the amulet that I got. I'm not going to say that it's the best in the world, but you definitely want to try to get like attack speed, ranks to envenom. If you can, you know, get ranks to something else instead of the attack speed and the damage. But I will say, like I said earlier, you know, on the market stuff for this build is just super expensive. So for the temperings right there, go ahead and throw a movement speed and damage to crowd controlled. That'd be my suggestion. And then for the aspect up here, we're going to go with the natural balance aspect, casting storm skills. Grants your earth skills 66% multiplier to the critical strike damage, and casting earth skills increases the critical strike chance of storm skills by up to 18% for 4 seconds. And we have both going off all the time, so we're getting the advantage of both of those. Right here into the ring, you definitely want to go with the Earthbreaker. This is a key component to the build. Critical strike chance, you know, I would say try to masterwork that if you need it, but preferably try to masterwork up the attack speed. That's what you're going to get the most out of. You want to try to boost your attack speed as much as possible. You know, obviously ranks to landslide, don't really worry about that. I have the greater affix, doesn't matter. The most important is down below. Cast of landslide leave behind tectonic spikes that deal physical damage over 2 seconds. Spawning a landslide pillar within tectonic spikes has a 30% chance to spawn 2 instead. So you want that chance down below to be as close to 30 as possible. That's going to overall be damage for your build. So you're, you know, spawning twice as much. And, you know, really important, you got to have this ring and definitely try to get that number down below of everything else as high as you can. Now, you can get like a greater affix on the attack speed with like a 30% roll down below, you know, and then masterwork up the attack speed. That'd be great. But, you know, you're looking at a lot of money right there if you plan on doing that. Right here, Ring of Starless Skies, you know, try to masterwork up the attack speed. You know, Ring of Starless Skies is just good for a lot of builds this season, but, you know, attack speed, crit chance, lucky hit, core skills. I mean, all of this helps us. So, you know, try to get 3 masterworks on the attack speed if you can. If not, try to get like 2 and 1 on the core skills. You know, that ultimately you're going to get more ranks to your lightning storm with the core skills, so that's going to help our damage as well. Down below, right here for the totem, you know, you're going to go with willpower, life, and then crit chance over here. Having the crit chance on your totem is going to help you get to that 100% base crit. And then once again, chance for landslide projectiles to cast twice, and then also damage to distant on this one. We want to get a nice mix of damage to distant and crowd control damage in order to hit our caps in the Paragon board, which we will get into for maximum damage and for the maximum multipliers over there. And then as for the aspect over here, we're going to put the Aftershock aspect. As you can see right there, Landslide's Earth Pillars each strike a second time and deal an additional up to 13% bonus damage per hit. So that's going to be your best choice over here. When it comes to gems, you know, get your life over here, crit chance in your weapon and your totem. And then over here now, to hit the armor cap, I needed skulls, so that's what I put in. So, you know, put in whatever you need. If you need resistances or armor, just go ahead and add that over here. Alright, we will go ahead and quickly run over the skill tree up top. You know, throw one into Storm Strike, one back here to get further down. Now, we do have Storm Strike on our action bar just in case we needed to, you know, get resource. I don't ever use it. I don't have problems with resource with this build, but if you do, then, you know, you could definitely go into that. Right here, we're going to go into the core skills. Now, Lightning Storm, obviously this is going to be one of our main damage dealers. You want to rank this up, actually overall our main damage dealer, and you want to rank this up as high as possible. I have rank 21 as it sits. Run that back to enhanced and then to raging for the one additional lightning strike. Right here, you're going to go one into Heart of the Wild, so we can get back here to Wild Impulses. It does make our core skills cost more, but we get a 15% damage increase. Right here, Landslide, run that back to Primal, just 1 point in here. You don't need to add any other points. This is basically going to be for proccing our Lightning Storm, so just 1 point into there. Definitely run it back to Primal. Right here into our defensive skills, one into Earth and Bulwark, one into Enhanced, giving us Unstoppable whenever we use it. And don't forget that it will be procced by Cyclone Armor, like pretty consistently because of our Nature's Fury key passive. As you can see down here, casting an Earth skill has a 35% chance to trigger a free Storm skill in the same category, so that can trigger our Earth and Bulwark. And then in addition, these free skills count both as Earth and Storm, so you know that's nice also. It's making them count as both, so we get the bonuses from both. Right here, Ancestral Fortitude, so we can get back here to Vigilance for damage reduction after using a defensive skill. Right here, one into Blood Howl, Enhanced, and Preserving. Now, if you are having problems with Spirit for some reason, you know, you can take this out right here and put it over here for, you know, Spirit generation every time you're using this, and you're constantly using this. But once your Spirit is figured out, you definitely want to go right here for the increased attack speed. Down into our companion skills, right here, you're just going to throw 3 points into Nature's Reach for 15% multiplier to distant enemies, and double that bonus if they're slowed, stunned, immobilized. So that's why we want to be like immobilizing enemies as well. Down into our Wrath skills, right here, we're just going to go into Elemental Exposure. Your Storm skills have up to a 10% chance to make enemies vulnerable for 3 seconds. This is going to be our pure source of making enemies vulnerable, and it's up like all the time because we just have stuff proccing all over the place. Right here, Crushing Earth. Earth skills deal 15% multiplicative increased damage to slowed, stunned, or immobilized. Nice multiplier. 2 into Safeguard for the Fortify. And then right here into Stone Guard, while you have Fortify for over 50% of your maximum life, Earth skills basically get a 12% multiplier, so that's up all the time. Right here, Neurotoxin, so we can get back to Envenom. You and your companions gain 80% multiplicative bonus critical strike damage against poisoned enemies. You'll see in the Paragon board, we're poisoning all enemies, and we're getting this huge multiplier. And that's why this is so important to get ranks of on your amulet. Down into our ultimate skill, like we talked about earlier, Petrify, run that back to Supreme. Right here, Defiance, Nature Magic skills deal 28% increased damage to a leech. Right here, you know, Natural Disaster, your Earth skills deal 12% multiplicative increased damage to vulnerable enemies, so we're always getting that. Right here, increase the amount of Fortify you gain from all sources by 35% and gain 21% damage reduction while fortified. You know, just keeping our Fortified boosted up at all times. Right here, Quick Shift, 3 points into that for more damage. We're always shifting. We're going to get the 24% multiplier. And then down here, we have 3 points from our gear. When shape-shifting into an animal form, Werebear grants 9% damage reduction. And you get movement speed from Werewolf. Basically, both of these are up because you're constantly shifting back and forth. And then our key passive for the build, Nature's Fury. Casting an Earth skill has up to a 35% chance to trigger a free Storm skill of the same category. You know, so this is what's making it to where when we're casting Landslide, our Lightning Storm is just going off crazy. And then also we get free Earth and Bulwark with this when we cast our armor. So, you know, definitely want to have this. All right, we'll go ahead and jump into the Paragon board really quickly. Don't forget to level up your glyphs, guys, for the bigger radius. And then make sure to get them to 21 so you get the maximum out of your glyphs. Also, down below in the description, there will be a link to this build over on Mobalytics if you'd like to check it out that way. Right here in the starter board, we're going to go ahead and throw a Dominate. Basically, we want the additional bonus. You see right there, when you overpower an enemy, all damage they take from you is increased by 15% multiplicative. We have so many things proccing on the screen at all times this you know, we're getting this pretty frequently. You know what I mean? So this is a nice damage multiplier. Go ahead and grab Prime and Tenacity down here. Next board that we're going to come into is going to be the Earth and Devastation board. Now, like we talked about, we wanted to stack the crowd control and damage to distant. We wanted the crowd control because of right here, you see your Earth and skills deal 10% multiplicative increased critical strike damage. Also increased by 20% of your damage versus crowd control bonus up to a 60% multiplier. We're getting the maximum out of this. We're getting the 60% right there. Right here, take Earth and Power. Over here, Resolve. In this board, we're going to go ahead and throw Keeper. You see right there, you and your companions deal 10% multiplicative increased non-physical damage. Nice multiplier. Next, we'll go over to the left. Next board that we're going to come into is the Constricting Tendrils board. This is how we're going to make enemies, you know, poisoned. Nature magic skills have up to a 15% chance to entangle the enemies with vines, immobilizing them for 2 seconds, and poisoning them. So, you know, that's how we get our poison and some immobilize right there. Go ahead and throw Earth and Sky over here. As you see right there, nature magic skills deal 10% multiplicative increased damage to crowd controlled or vulnerable enemies. Grab Courage right here for some nice maximum life, and Nature's Will. And we're also going to get Superiority, Devastation. We're going to run up here to the Thunderstruck board. Skills deal increased damage equal to 20% of your damage versus close and damage versus distant. That's why we wanted to stack the damage versus distant, and we're getting that full 60% from that as well. Right here, Deluge, go ahead and grab that. We're going to throw in Spirit right here. Critical strikes increase the damage an enemy takes from you by 2% for 20 seconds up to 12. We're constantly critically striking. Take Stormcaller right here. The board over here to the left, we're going to go ahead and go with Heightened Malice. While there are 3 or more poison enemies nearby, we get a 45% multiplier, so that's awesome. You know, we have that up pretty often, especially when we're obviously in packs of enemies. Grab Poison Resilience right here. Next up, we're going to come into the Survival Instincts board over here to the right. As you can see right there, while in Werebear form, you deal 1% multiplicative increased damage up to a 60% multiplier for every 1% difference in current life percent between you and the enemy. Down here, you're going to grab Bulwark. In this board, we're going to throw the Fulminate glyph. You deal 12% multiplicative increased lightning damage to both healthy and injured enemies. And the final board that we're going to come into will be the Ancestral Guidance board. Obviously, run over here, grab Reclamation. And then right here, Ancestral Guidance. After spending 75 Spirit, you deal 35% multiplicative increased damage for 5 seconds. And we're constantly just running through our Spirit. And yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for the build. If you have any questions or comments, be sure to let me know down below. There will be a full Uber Lilith kill right now if you want to go ahead and check that out, as well as the final wave and boss fight of a tier 8 Infernal Horde. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys.
Sorry. I apologize. Wait a minute.